Welcome to the Natural History Museum in London. Today we are in the new Wildlife Photographer of the Year exhibition. Last night we revealed the winners of the 59th Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition, and today we're getting a sneak peek as we look around and see some of the 100 images that were selected from nearly 50,000 entries from 95 countries. Joining me today, we've got Cathy Moran, who is editor and chair of our jury and was also the Deputy Director of Photography at National Geographic. We've got our very own Richard Sabin, who is the Principal of Curator of Mammals here at the museum and was the museum's representative on the jury. And last but not least, we have Karen Aigner, the photographer who was awarded this year's Photojournalist Story Award and was also last year's grand title winner. So we're going to have a chat through the judging process and also find out a bit more about the fascinating stories behind these images. So let's get started. I'm excited to be in the exhibition. So we'll go over to here to meet Cathy Moran first. Hi Cathy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, great to be here.
So I was wondering if you could start by telling us a bit about the judging process and how do you whittle it down to just 100 images?
Well, the judging happens in two phases. Where we receive the hard drive with the 50,000, which can seem daunting, but it really does go quickly. But the real gift that the competition and the museum give to the jury and the photographers is that they bring the jury together for that last round of judging. So we spend 5 days together here at the museum going through roughly about 5,000 images that we got it down to. And when you're in the room together and you're talking through what you're looking at and you have that opportunity to see it through the eyes of the other jurors, it actually goes really quickly. And it's that ability to be able to talk it through. And we get it down to about 200, 150 pretty quickly. And after that, that's when the real debate happens, you know, when you're really trying to get to those category winners. And then, of course, when you get the category winners and you've got to choose that Wildlife Photographer of the Year, that's when being together is really critical. So, yeah. But it really is about talking and listening and seeing these images through the eyes of the others.
And so when you're all in that room together, what are you looking for in an image?
You know, for me, it really boils down to a couple of things. I'm looking for narrative. I mean, I really believe that you can tell a story in a single frame. So narrative is really important to me. Obviously, the aesthetics are critical. And moment. I mean, what pulls this all together is not only Laurent's use of light, but it's those three little fish hovering over the horseshoe crab that really make this a magical moment. And, you know, increasingly what we hope for in the image is a conservation message. And that all of these elements came together in this particular photograph. And you know, we're looking at a species, it's a dinosaur. It's critical to overall ocean health and it's critical to human health. So everything came together for us with this image.
And so, yeah, so this is the grand title winner of this year's competition. So could you tell us a bit more about it for those who might not have seen it yet?
You know, it's always a kick when you realize that in the judging you are elevating a photograph of a species that's never been in the competition before. And I think that was part of the appeal with this image, that not only was it aesthetically powerful, but that it really did give us an opportunity to showcase to the audience that, again, as I said, this is a dinosaur. And it's a species that's so easy to overlook, but Laurent was able to photograph it in such a magical way that for us it really was almost an immediate. Whether it was going to go beyond category or be the overall winner, we knew that this was an image that we wanted to share with the audience.
And so, yeah, when you saw it for the first time, was it kind of like, wow, this is a winning image?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for me, there was absolutely no doubt that this was going to go the distance. So.
It really is a stunning image. And so next year is the 60th year of the competition, and there's a special prize for the winner there. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, within the context of the 100, we are looking to award it across the categories. It can be in any of the categories, a photograph or a story that speaks to hope, that looks at solutions. And you know, so many of the most powerful images in the exhibition shine a light on the challenges that we're facing, conservation challenges, and that storytelling is really critical, and the audience has to see it. But there's also hope. There are solutions to what's happening in the natural world, and we really hope to showcase that for the 60th.
Oh, that's really exciting. Is there anything else, I suppose, about this image that just really stood out to you or made it really special?
It feels otherworldly. Really, I mean, it could be on Mars.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is like a spaceship hovering over the ocean floor. So, yeah, I mean, I think that Laurent, he's just got a gift for bringing together light and moment and story in a way that very few do. So, yeah, he's a master at it. A two-time winner.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Kathy, for joining us today. That was amazing to kind of talk a bit more through the grand title winner. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you.
So we're now going to move over to Richard Sabin, who's Principal Curator of Mammals here at the museum. And it was your first time on the jury this year, wasn't it, Richard? So how was that?
It was intense. That's probably the word that best sums up the experience. But it was a great learning experience for me because in previous years I've been part of the backwards in science that looks at the images after the judges have gone through and made the selections. They come to science. We comment on behaviours. We comment on the other things that we see, identification and so on. We add to the narrative. So it's some of our work end up on the panels in the exhibition. So it's really interesting to be on the other side of the fence. Actually, the privilege of spending a week with Kathy and the other photographers in the group myself really just immense. I felt conscious of the fact that I'm not a professional photographer, and the kind of photographs that I take are maybe sort of quick and dirty just to grab as much information as I can very quickly to inform whatever it is I'm working on. But actually, you know, they encouraged me and said, you're bringing something unique to this, your perspective on things. And I was looking very much at the sort of the visitor to a gallery and those sort of moments that you have with a wonderful photograph, and there's something there that grabs you. And I was waiting for those to happen, and they kept happening. You know, it wasn't too long to wait until I started to have those feelings, to be honest with you.
Wow, what an experience. And was there anything that particularly struck you about the judging process going into it new?
Yeah, it's the debate and the discussion and the informing of each other. You know, the fact that there may be 2 or 3 people as part of the panel who are not entirely convinced by what's being said, and others who are more convinced and convincing. And so to be in that room and to be able to have those conversations and to listen and sort of engage and have that slow sort of process of bringing people round. And it wasn't forced. It was a kind of an organic process. You know, people listen and they understand and they appreciate it. We all listen to each other. That was an experience for me too. It's I think, as Kathy said earlier on, it's you have to see the images through the eyes of the other members of the jury. That really does make a difference.
And how did the whole experience kind of link to the work that you do here at the museum?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, my work at the museum is all about discovery, discovering new information from our collections, from our research collections, and then communicating that information to our audiences. And this is how I view WPY. I mean, Wildlife Photographer of the Year does just that. You're presenting images to audiences and you're offering them opportunities to see hopefully new things, and I think we do that. The exhibition does that very well. There are very similar principles between the work I do and the way that we discover information from these photographs. It's a key thing, I think, for engagement, getting people engaged with the natural world.
For sure. And well, speaking of the images, we're standing here in front of the young grand title winner. So could you tell us a bit more about this image?
It's a lovely image for so many different reasons. And Carmel, the photographer, is 17-year-old from Israel, an incredibly talented individual who decided to look for things on his own doorstep. And I think this is something that people forget. You know, nature is everywhere. Wildlife is everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a city. There's going to be something there that, you know, is representative of the natural world, and we forget to look. This struck me and struck the rest of us as something that, you know, it's something that we see such a lot in our landscapes. You know, this environmental degradation, these abandoned buildings, these structures covered in graffiti. But with this one, your eye goes to the top left of the structure and you see these two beautiful barn owls just looking out. And, you know, Carmel has a passion for owls, and they're an important animal in the ecosystem, incredibly important. And, you know, this is adaptation too. This is these animals taking back what we've abandoned, but it's about encroachment. It's sort of that push and pull. You know, we're pushing into the wild landscape, and the wild landscape is kind of pushing back, if you like. And we need to create more acceptable sort of liminal spaces. We know that those events are going to happen, but we have to be more accepting of the fact that maybe the structures that we do build in the future need to incorporate opportunities for wildlife to become a part of them.
And so when you saw this image for the first time, what was it that struck you about it or made it special, and why did the jury choose this one?
I think it's because it is such a familiar looking thing. You know, these abandoned structures, these old buildings, they're so recognisable in the landscapes. You know, you're travelling out of a city and into the countryside, and you come across these things. They've often been decorated by people, you know, random people passing. But I think the thing that really did it for us was the fact that Carmel wanted to show the beauty and the nature that was right on his doorstep. He was exploring his local environment and wanted to share that with people. So the narrative was, you know, a strong deciding factor too, to be quite honest with you. But it's everything about this. I mean, I love the light trails that go across the image, you know, and he was inside his dad's car and taking the photograph through the window, a very patient and supportive father, I think. Lots and lots of photographs to get just that right image, and there's just something really captivating about it. Yeah, it speaks to me, to be quite honest with you, because I grew up in an environment very similar to this.
Right.
Lots of, you know, broken down buildings, and we didn't think there were going to be wild animals in there. We thought maybe rats and mice, but not much else. But you look hard enough and you find these incredible creatures.
Yeah, and they surprise you in places you wouldn't necessarily think to look.
Absolutely, yeah.
So on Monday, the next year's competition entries open.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people getting ready to enter next year?
Well, I'd say, you know, be bold, grab a camera, do it, because next year is the anniversary and it's a big one. It's going to be, I'm assuming there will be a retrospective, because it's such an incredible thing to think that this competition's been going for 60 years. But, you know, just follow that passion. I mean, I should do it myself, to be quite honest with you. Grab a camera, go out into the local area and just take photographs. I love being up at the crack of dawn. I love it as the sun's rising and you just starting to hear the bird song. I love that moment just before, you know, people start to populate and mess up the place. But you see these creatures, you see the sort of the change from night to day, and I'd like maybe to capture that in a more formal way. And I think if people have a passion for photography, they should just follow it. You know, and one of the things that I'm really, really impressed by and proud of with this competition is that it's so open. You know, so many different people from so many different countries have submitted their photographs, and the age ranges too. I mean, some of the young photographers are just remarkable, absolutely remarkable. So I'd say be bold, grab a camera, go out, take a photograph.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. Well, thank you so much for joining us and talking through this year's Young Grand Title winner. We're now going to go over here and chat to Karen Aigner, who is this year's Photojournalist Story Award winner and was last year's Grand Title winner. Remember, the exhibition opens this Friday, the 13th of October, so you'll be able to come on down to the Natural History Museum in London and see these beautiful images for yourself. Karen, so lovely to see you, and congratulations for your win this year. How are you feeling about it all?
I'm overwhelmed. It's always fun to be here, so yeah.
And could you tell us a bit about your work that's won the Photojournalist Story Award this year?
Yes, this is a body of work focused on what we do to certain species in the United States and how we treat them. These are all native species, and in over 40 of the U.S. states, these activities are legal. So these are predator hunting contests for prize money and for fun, and carnivals and festivals that celebrate the slaughter in the end of certain species like rattlesnakes.
And why did you want to tell this story?
I began this work literally focusing on natural history of a specific bobcat who made it on the walls here several years ago as a highly commended. And she was denning under a house that I had done work in, and I wanted to learn about bobcats. And that's where all this came from. So the more I explored, the more I found out about these animals. There wasn't much out there in terms of information. They were pretty basic information, what they ate, who they were, and that was it. They're not a threatened species, so no one seemed to really care about. They're a bit of an enigma because they don't hang out and show up for people to see. So the more I learned about them as a predator, I came across these contests, and I had never heard about them before. I didn't know there was a bobcat-focused one, which is what that image is about. So I wanted to know more, and I wanted to see what this world entailed, and one sort of came after the other. Curiosity starts to take you in many directions in projects like this. So.
And what were some of the challenges that you encountered when you were documenting this story?
Some of the challenges were access, trust. People have to trust you to let you into their lives, and some of these people did. Another issue is your own emotion, your own thoughts, and if animals are something that you like and you care about, then seeing this kind of stuff is quite difficult and emotional. So it's how you handle yourself in these situations, because you do want to document, and that's hard to do sometimes in these situations, especially if you have a connection with what you're photographing. And I did from a natural history point of view.
And so you've touched on emotions a bit there. What are you hoping audiences that see your images here feel and take away from seeing them?
I would love people to actually look at this, to not turn away, to look and see what is being done. This is legal in America, so it's something that happens all the time, every winter. It's happening actually now, or it's beginning now. And I want people to pay attention and to realize that if they're looking at something like this that makes them angry, they can act, they can do something. Something small, it doesn't matter what it is, but don't sit passively anymore and let these kinds of things be fixed by somebody else, because we need a collective body of people to help move the needle on things we want to change. And we can't change it. We can't change it. I can't change it by myself. So everyone else's actions actually help the photographers, with their own confidence levels and know that somebody cares, so helps us do our job better.
So important. Wildlife photography is such a good way of getting these messages and stories out there. So thinking back to last year, you were last year's grand title winner for your amazing buzzing ball of cactus bees. How's your year been? And tell us a bit about that experience of winning.
The experience of winning the grand title it's kind of hard to sum up. For me, it was an acknowledgement by my peers of my own work, and how far I'd come on this landscape of telling stories and capturing beauty of the natural world. So one of the best things was I would get little DMs through Instagram of people standing in front of the bee shot. I saw your bee shot and I live in Poland, or I live in Thailand, and they'd come to the Natural History Museum in London and then actually contacted me, and took a picture of it. So that felt really good.
That must have been amazing.
Yeah.
So many people have seen that image.
Yeah,
That was
and
just
it's kind of hard. Yesterday we were all here, and it was kind of giving the title away. It's a little bit heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it's great to see the work that is celebrated last night. and the winner from last night.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite image from this year so far?
Oh gosh, a favorite? No. I have some that I think are, tragically beautiful, that are amazing stories, that are just wonderful beauty shots. I'm up here with Morgan Heim. Her work is fantastic, and it's gorgeous, and also telling a conservation story that's very important. I see some of the others over here. It's really, just looking around, it's really hard to pick one.
Such a
And
broad
it would be a
range.
big lie if I only picked one. I don't envy the judges, so
Yeah, it's a big
because their job is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, thinking about your own photography and what's next for you, do you have things in mind? Any thoughts and plans?
This is a body of work that I hope to continue. We'll see where it goes. I'm not done documenting. This is only one state. All these images were taken in one state, and the United States is a big place. And I think there are many, many more of these scenes with different species that I can unearth and shed light on, which is what I would like to do. But other than that, no. Right now, I gotta figure out what's next.
Yeah.
So,
It's exciting times.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Karen, for joining us
Oh,
today.
you're welcome.
And congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, your win.
Thanks.
But yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you to Richard and also Kathy for joining us today at the Natural History Museum. Remember, the exhibition opens this Friday, the 13th of October, so you can get your tickets and come on down to see these images for yourself. And the next year's competition, entries open on Monday, so you can also enter. All of the details are on our website. But thank you so much for joining us today. And if you've enjoyed it, please give us a like and subscribe. And thank you so much for joining.